The following podcast contains opinion and commentary protected by the First Amendment and fair use. It may also contain adult themes, adult concepts, and adult language not suitable for children. Viewer discretion is advised.
David Jinger, lawyer with flair, took on a case, thought he'd get somewhere. Laura Owens spun a tale so wild, claimed Clayton's twin said she bore his child. In the courtroom swing, they danced their plea, but the judge saw through that false decree. Paternity suit, it fell apart fast. Jinger's bold moves, they just couldn't last. 3 strikes, you're out. Jinger's hear the call. Your case struck out, watch it crumble and fall. Laura's lies, they swung and missed by a mile. 7 felonies down, no chance to restyle. Jazz it up, now the gavel's gonna slam. Jinger and Owens caught in their own jam. To the Arizona court he appealed with might, tried to turn the tide in the legal fight, but the Supreme Court said no, not today. Your claims don't hold, they're slipping away. Judge Mata's ruling, sharp like a knife, called out the fraud that cut through their strife. No proof of twins, no truth in the claim. Jinger and Owens, they're losing the game. 3 strikes, you're out. Jinger's hear the call. Your case struck out, watch it crumble and fall. Laura's lies, they swung and missed by a mile. 7 felonies down, no chance to restyle. Jazz it up, now the gavel's gonna slam. Jinger and Owens caught in their own jam. Then the law came knocking with a heavy hand. 7 felony counts across the desert land. Fraud and perjury, tampering too, Laura's web of lies the jury saw through. Forged a sonogram, spun tales under oath. Her stories collapse, no room for their growth. Maricopa's justice, it don't play no games. Now Laura's indicted, carrying all the blame. Oh, the saxophone wails, for the truth been told. Jinger swaggers faded, his case growing cold. Laura's dreams of victory, they're sinking in the sand. The law's got her number with the prosecuting hand. From the courtroom drama to the felony sting, this jazzy tale's got that bittersweet zing. 3 strikes, you're out. Jinger's hear the call. Your case struck out, watch it crumble and fall. Laura's lies, they swung and missed by a mile. 7 felonies down, no chance to restyle. Jazz it up, now the gavel's gonna slam. Jinger and Owens caught in their own jam. So let the trumpets cry, let the drums roll on. The tale of their downfall, forever it's sung. In the desert's heat, where the truth stands tall, Jinger and Owens, they took the big fall. Jazz it up now, let the story unfold. A courtroom caper in the key of bold.
Welcome, everyone, back to your favorite cubbyhole on the internet. Oh, my goodness. We can never get away from this thing. It's just extraordinary. It is. What's today? Oh, it's the day after Hump Day. It's Thursday. And much to, well, not to my surprise, I'll be honest. We saw this coming, but I didn't think it would come quite so soon. I thought maybe first part of next week we'd see this. But we have a treat especial for you today. We have the witness list for the prosecution, the state of Arizona, in the criminal trial of Laura Michelle Owens. And you will not be surprised. Well, maybe you will. Who's been called on this list? And oh my goodness, is this list extensive. It includes everyone from all of the family Owens to Dingus the douche canoe. I know. Who's surprised? We're not. There's quite a few names here. Some of them may surprise you. Some of the ones that aren't on here you might expect to be names on here might surprise you, or they may not. It's all good, juicy stuff, and this thing is several pages long. So while I could wax poetic about being on Laura Knighty's stream, The Court of Random Opinion, she covered this with the one and only Bruce the Moose. Omar was busy doing dad things. That's life. Luckily, I don't have too much life to get in the way, at least on today. So this dropped earlier today. My YouTube feed was blowing up with people commenting, have you seen this? Have you seen this? Are you going to talk about this? I must be doing something right. I'm starting to get notifications of when things drop. So thank you all for the heads up. You're amazing. You know, we can't do this without you. I mean, if we're being totally honest, all of this stuff that all of us do in front of the microphone and or on camera, I'm just lazy to turn my camera on. And what are you going to see other than me gesticulating around when I get excited? So we just keep it to the microphone. Anyhow, this is all a team effort. I've said it many times before. We do this for the good of the cause. But just before we dive into the list a little bit, just some preamble. Again, I will preface this by saying I'm not a legal practitioner. I'm not a practitioner of many things other than what I do, but I'm going to keep those secrets safe. Some of you might have a clue. With this list, we will see some things happen. We will see a response from the defense. They will provide some discovery and also their intended witness list. And then what will happen? Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, people of all types and persuasions, we will see substantive motion practice. We will see motions in limine for witnesses. We will see all kinds of motion practice for evidence and so on and so forth. The extended process of lawyering, I suspect, will take us through the fall. Now, I know there's an initial trial date. There's some initial dates for pre-trial conference and so on and so forth. Those dates will inevitably move as motion practice happens and the backing and forthing of lawyering commences. That's how these things go. And this is a criminal trial. And I think since it's a fairly, I'm going to say it's a fairly cut and dry case. But again, I'm not a practitioner. It's important for everyone to remember that this is not going to be an all-encompassing case where we're going all the way back into the deep, dark bowels and recesses of Laura's history to uncover every last dirty little thing, and that's going to be part of this trial. No. There's a reason this went to a grand jury with a very specific set of indictments that the grand jury had deliberated over. So this is a specific case. This is on specific counts for specific things. But even with those 7 felony counts, the witness list is just absolutely extraordinary here. I won't say it's the longest I've ever seen necessarily in all my watching of LawTube for I won't tell you how many years. I don't want to date myself. Almost since the beginning of YouTube, really. But it is a long list. And of course, this list is going to get pared down. Like I say, it's going to be part of motion practice. It's going to be part of the ongoing things that happen as this case codifies and solidifies and gets more refined prior to going to trial. That's just the way these things happen. Doesn't matter what kind of criminal case it is, but since we all have a certain vested interest in this one, we're watching it closely. And aren't we fascinated? I think I'm just jealous that I never got picked to be on a jury panel. I came damn close a number of times within 1 or 2 people, but I never got to sit on an actual case. So, again, that's some of my pre-fascination with some of this stuff. Anyhow, let's get into this document. It's lengthy, lengthy in terms of lists of names, but let's just get through this and see how quickly we can do it. So this comes, of course, from the Maricopa County Attorney's Office, Rachel Mitchell. And the text reads as follows. The state of Arizona, by and through undersigned counsel, hereby gives notice of disclosure pursuant to Rule 15.1, ARCP, and request disclosure pursuant to Rule 15.2. If this case involves a victim, the state has made every attempt to comply with ARS rules. And 39, I'm skipping. I hope you don't mind if I speed read through some of this. Rules of criminal procedure by redacting the victim's identifying and locating information. If, for any reason, victim identifying or locating information has inadvertently been disclosed, the state requests that defense counsel immediately notify the state so that it may substitute the disclosure with a copy that conforms to ARS and Rule 39. The state further requests that any copies of documents containing victim identifying or locating information not be further disseminated to anyone, including the defendant. Yes, we don't want anyone doing naughty things with that information. And I think Laura Michelle Owens would be one that would do naughty things with such information. So the witnesses as potentially called for the case in chief or as rebuttal witnesses include Julie Redacted. Okay, I wonder who that is. Deandra Arena. That's not surprising. She was at the front end of Clayton's initial interactions with Laura, so I'm sure she has some stuff. Family Owens number 1, ladies and gentlemen, Jan Black Owens, it says. I'm surprised it doesn't say Jan Black / Elizabeth Naylor Owens. Mama Owens has been called as a witness, ladies and gentlemen. I called it, and I know there's others because I've already seen the list, and we're not surprised. We have 3 police officers, some from Scottsdale PD and Maricopa County Attorney's Office, including Michael Blasco, Detective Traya Boa, Brandon Buckner, and then at the bottom of the page, Uncle Joe Cotchett. I wonder if he ever found out that someone was using letterhead or potential letterhead that involved him. Next page, we have Officer Logan Cron. We know he was part of the initial securing of the compound during the serving of the warrant, or was it a subpoena? Oh, whichever, doesn't matter. The thing that allowed them to take things. And then we have witness Lisa Somebody, redacted. And then next, not surprisingly, Dr. Samantha Deans, who did such an excellent job in the paternity case. Victim, notice it says victim and not witness. Victim, Clayton Ray Eckerd. Witness Doorbell, redacted. Next, witness Jeannie, redacted. Then John, redacted. We have some interesting names who we don't know. I suspect, and this is me playing a hunch just based upon hunches, I think we will have people involved with some of the businesses that Laura may have sought for perhaps things like purchasing HCG or other people she may have connected with trying to perpetuate her schemes. Perhaps there were some people involved in healthcare that she may have reached out to get various things to help perpetuate her schemes and artifices. Next, we have Detective Baron Fulp, of course, part of the raid on the Owens compound of Scottsdale PD. And Witvit Protected, of course, that's witness victim. So Greg Gillespie has the honor of being classified under both, a witness and victim. Then we have, and this one's funny because I think this is an error. I'm almost certain of it. David Gingrich. That sounds awfully close to David Gingras, don't you think? Yes. I think that is David S. Gingras, Esquire. And I think it's what Megan Fox would call a little Scrivener's error. I think they can get that fixed. And as memory serves, I think there's one person on a Court of Random Opinion live stream who wasn't there this evening, Schnitzel Ninja, who could probably confirm that Dingus the Douche Canoe does in fact live in Chandler. I'm almost certain of it as memory serves. We did lots of early research, a lot of which I've forgotten because it was only for personal interest more than it was for anything substantive with what we're going to talk about. So I'm certain that's Dingus there, but we could be wrong. We always leave room to be wrong, but I think I'm right. Then we have Officer Andrew Gomez with Scottsdale PD. Next page, Officer Gabriel Gonzalez with the Attorney's Office. Next, Detective Thomas Goodson with Scottsdale PD. And then we have next witness Dustin, redacted. Witness Heather, redacted. Witness Doug, redacted. And then next, I think Dr. Jeffrey Higley. Doesn't say doctor, but I think we can presume that. Dr. Higley and Dr. McCool. And then witness Roseanne, redacted. Next witness, Jones, MD, whoever that is. See, this is a little bit of a rushed list. And I know some people would say, well, you'd think they would be a little bit more tidied up in doing these sorts of things. But what's going to happen? What's going to happen is this is going to get pared down a little bit. There's going to be a hell of a lot of motions practice. That's just the way it goes with criminal cases, especially one with 7 felony counts and one with witness lists this long. There's going to be motions in limine. There's going to be trying to eliminate witnesses and probably some factual evidence, and all of that kind of stuff is going to happen. If this doesn't take us through the fall into the winter and probably next year with just motion practice, I think I would be surprised. But we'll see. I mean, yes, I know they've got sort of everything pre-scheduled for all the way through trial and so forth, all the way, the whole gamut from pre-trial forward, pre-trial conferences, etc. It would be unusual for it to move that fast, even if this was a fast-tracked case, which I'm not totally sure it is, but a lot's going to happen. A lot's going to happen with the details of this case. We're still at the front end of discovery. We have yet to get a response. There will be a response from the defense on who they intend to call and so forth as part of discovery. This is how the front end works at the first part with discovery back and forth. Then following, we have more officers. Officer Heather Krim with the attorney's office. Andrew Lukowski with Scottsdale PD. Then witness Tamara Lister, which that name sort of rings a bell, but I can't remember why. Next page, McCool. We know that to be Dr. McCool, I believe. And then, of course, not surprisingly, Michael Maricini as a witness. And the next witness, Roberta somebody, and then witness Hunter somebody. And then witness Dr. Michael Tom Medschel. I find that funny. We actually got his whole name in there. They got him, so they must be serious about him. And then an entire redacted witness with everything blocked out. Ooh, we like a little mystery. Then next, Angela redacted. Carmen, maybe? Some of these grayed out blocks are just not helpful. I know. There may be a real document out there for those of us who really want to dig in. Carmen, maybe, or can't, I don't know. And then the witness, Matt, somebody, and then look, folks, as I called it, Sister Sarah is on the witness list. Yay, another point for me. Ding, ding, ding. Oh, can I use that? That's a point for me. We'll use that as a point for me. So, Sister Sarah, there's going to be lots of people trying to testify towards credibility or lack thereof, as well as details they may know. And this didn't surprise me either. Next, the one and only Dave Neal. A lot of stuff happened with him at the beginning, with stuff Laura was sending him, trying to convince him that she was quote-unquote pregnant. Lots of stuff there. And next, from the family Owens, not surprisingly, Daddy Owens, Ron. He's on the witness list, folks. All of the immediate family Owens is on the witness list. Amazing. Then next, we have Detective Maxwell of Scottsdale PD. Next page, Officer Patton with, I assume, Scottsdale PD. Yeah, see, some of this is a little clumsy, not quite totally tidied up. Then we have Officer Daniel Peckham from the attorney's office. And then Attorney Bonnie Platter, who was one of Laura's early ones within, was that an OPP case or was that the first part of the paternity thing? Now, I've forgotten some of these things. It's just been so much. Ugh. And it's been a while. We've been at this a couple of years. Well, not so much me personally. Well, I've been involved. I haven't necessarily brought it on my YouTubes until a little bit more recently within the last year. But following Bonnie Platter, we have Detective Joe Plummer with the attorney's office. We have a witness, Anna, somebody. And then we have contractor Sean Roanhorse, who some of you might remember had a thing. They had he was sued by Laura and Mama Owens for the horse barn stuff or whatever it was that was going on there, and what a mess that was. And then we have another entirely redacted witness, and then a Jeannie somebody, and then more police from the attorney's office and Scottsdale PD, Christopher Scott and Michael C. Miller, respectively. Next page. Then we have Scottsdale Officer Anthony Silva, Witness Madeline redacted, Officer Kyle Swan with Scottsdale PD, Witness Kathy redacted, I think it says, then Officer Ryan Sylvester with Scottsdale PD, and then a custodian of records with Banner Health. Ooh. Where's my ooh button? We have Oz Booze. We need an ooh and an aw. Darn it. I need more buttons already. Again. Then witness Jessica redacted. Officer James Weege with the attorney's office. Next witness Andrew redacted. And then we have maybe he's from New Jersey. Ooh, we have people on the East Coast other than Sister Sarah. Fascinating. Then we have another custodian of records. There's going to be lots of those. And then Greg Woodnick, Zaddy Greg, and witness Zeman. So there's the basic list. And of course, as I said, and as we've observed, this is a little bit of an untidy list at the moment. I'm sure as things progress, it'll get pared down again. There will be some people they weed out. Obviously, they can't call everybody because that would just mean this trial would go on for months. And we can't have that. Justice needs to be efficient. And as far as the merits and facts of the case are concerned, as it relates to the 7 felony counts, it's going to become a very specific list of people. There will be material witnesses. There will be factual witnesses. There will be lots of character witnesses for the defense. And I think that's going to be about all they've got. But that's just my opinion as someone who does not practice in law. The document continues. Other witnesses. Any custodian of records for any disclosed item or document, Maricopa County Sheriff's Office, MVD, Banner Hospital, Barrow Dignity Health, Honor Health, Med Spa, Mom Doc, Planned Parenthood LA, in fact, 1060 OBGYN, which I think is a New York thing. That's probably related to Sister Sarah, Family Planning Associates, Innova Med Spa, Scottsdale Perinatal Associates, SMIL, Smile, Sonora Quest Labs, Suddenly Slimmer Med Spa, Vita Bella Med Spa, Women's Care Phoenix, and Social Media. Holy cow, that's like everybody. Take note of the number of med spas and things that have to do with slimming down, where one might perhaps, as part of a weight loss program, as we discussed when we talked about HCG and potential smoking guns for where Laura got it, she may have been engaging in certain health weight loss plans that involved HCG weight loss. I'm starting to feel vindicated. I'm almost proud of myself. 2, any witnesses from the defense disclosure. We have yet to see that document. I'm sure it's being prepared and will be submitted forthwith. Any individual named or referred to in the preliminary hearing transcript, grand jury transcript, police report, or other state's disclosure. Now, one of the questions I would have if I were on a panel sitting with Omar, if he were actually on the panel today, and I would ask this question because I think this is an important question, is whether or not we will see the grand jury transcripts as part of the disclosure of discovery. I think maybe we could, because at some point it's going to come out, I think, just as part of the discovery documents. And it's all going to be a matter of public record anyhow. But it is a question I have on what it was initially a sealed document when the grand jury was held. But that's not uncommon with certain cases, especially just to kind of keep things tight before it gets indicted. Don't want cats out of the bag before you know you've got a solid case. And you certainly don't want to have things go before grand jury and then leak out and then not get your indictments. So I think there are reasons for that. It makes me optimistic that we might see some of the grand jury transcript. On the next item, we have cell phone examiner analyst, cell phone cell site expert. Ooh, that's going to have to do with devices and where they were pinging from. That's very fascinating. And computer forensics expert. So we're talking about all kinds of devices. That's not a surprise given Laura's crimes that she has allegedly in the eyes of the law. We feel fairly certain that it's more than alleged. And we have fingerprints technician, forensic document examiner, questionable documents, latent print examiner, and handwriting expert. They will have chain of custody, very well established with all of Laura's devices and perhaps anyone else's devices. Not surprising. And again, some of this is going to be boilerplate. It'll involve verbiage and statements that may not necessarily apply to this case, but are listed just as boilerplate documentation goes. Under evidence, the state may introduce evidence pictures, reproductions, PowerPoint presentations, chart or diagrams of the crime scene, or any damage or injuries that were a result of the crime. Well, I don't think we know of any physical damages per se. 2, all physical evidence taken from the defendant. That's going to be devices for the most part, and maybe, just maybe a baby bump. Ooh. 3, any fingerprints, footprints, hairs, fibers, bodily fluids, chemicals. Oh, God. I knew that would be in there, but okay, we're reading it. Other forensic evidence as found as a result of the investigation of the crime and their analyses. All physical evidence taken as a result of medical exams and the analysis of that evidence. Identification evidence. Any arrest booking report or photograph of the defendant related to the charged offenses. 2, MVD records, prior conviction records, or other records demonstrating a prior identification of the defendant. Again, standard form stuff. 3, any photographic lineups. Victim evidence, photographs of the victim. 2, all medical records of the victims if relevant to the crime charged. 3, all statements made by witnesses for purposes of medical diagnosis or treatment if relevant or applicable. Document evidence. Any written instruments, including but not limited to checks, receipts, applications for credit accounts, or check cashing services. 2, any computer or account access devices, including but not limited to credit cards, debit cards, passwords, account numbers, password generators. 3, any forgery devices, including but not limited to computer software, check blanks, driver's license blanks, social security card blanks, laminator. 4, samples of handwriting and related analyses. Wouldn't that be amazing if we had some handwritten stuff from Laura that indicted her? That would be fantastic. 5, bank account records, credit account records, or other receipts or transaction records, including but not limited to transaction records, emails. 6, MVD records, including but not limited to driver's licenses or ID cards, or ID cards probably. I don't mean to add, but I can't help it. 7, vehicle registration and or applications for same. Other evidence, any statements of the defendant or of any co-conspirators mentioned or contained in the police reports or other disclosed materials. I think, this is just my opinion again, I think at least Mama Owens is a co-conspirator. But that's my opinion. And I wonder if that might come out a little bit. What do you think, folks? Leave it in the comments below. 2, any writing or recording of the defendant or witnesses. There could be some of that. There could be a lot of that. Remember, someone took down all their YouTubes, but the internet is forever, folks. 3, any object, representation of an object, thing, or document referred to in the defense disclosure or disclosed by the defense or used or referred to at trial by the defense. 4, any grand jury, preliminary hearing, or deposition transcript. 5, any object, representation of an object, thing, or document referred to in the preliminary hearing transcript, grand jury transcript, police report, or in any of the state's disclosure, including but not limited to A, any evidence arising out of DR 2024031, Maricopa County Attorney's Office, and any supplements. Ooh, is that the referral? I'm not sure what that means. I might have to do some research. If you know what that means, leave that in the comments below. 6, any video and or audio recording obtained from on-officer camera. 7, any surveillance video. That could be any number of things if it's applicable. 8, the state gives notice that it may introduce FTR recordings of testimony in this case and evidence or use them during closing arguments. Ooh, there's so much stuff here. God, are we even halfway yet? Then we have Rule 15b notices. Any other witnesses or evidence will be disclosed seasonably according to Rule 15.6. The state has no obligation to provide witness telephone numbers. The only witness telephone numbers to be disclosed are those that are already included in police reports or other disclosure materials. All of the listed witnesses' existing relevant written statements have already been provided in the police reports, are provided with this notice, or will be provided seasonably. Any other statement of a witness that any witness may remember may be obtained through witness interviews. 4, all existing written statements of the defendant have already been provided in the police reports, are provided with this notice, or will be provided seasonably. Any other statement of the defendant that any witness may remember may be obtained through witness interviews. 5, audio, video, or digitally recorded statements or images are available for review, and copies of such recorded statements or images, if not already provided, will be provided upon request after sufficient arrangements are made, including providing blank tapes or compact discs and paying any reasonable costs associated with making copies. I would say they need to update this form to include transferable media like thumb drives, but who am I to tell the state how to do things? 6, any exhibit presented to the grand jury has already been disclosed to the defense, except insofar as disclosure may be prohibited by IRS, etc., or any other statute, next page, or rule. The state cannot identify for disclosure exhibits that were not admitted or presented to the grand jury. 7, defense counsel shall be responsible for recording any witness statement made at an interview of the witness. 8, experts to be called as witnesses in this case are listed in the witness list. The names and addresses of experts along with completed results of physical examinations, scientific tests, experiments, or comparisons have already been provided, are provided with this notice, or will be provided upon completion. 9, any police officer listed above may be called as an expert witness with respect to an area within the officer's training and experience, including expert knowledge of illegal drugs, their possession or sale, usable amounts, or any other topic. Well, unless Laura was dealing drugs, this is obviously just part of standard form for the office. 10, any criminalist, fingerprint analyst, identification technician, or other similar witness shall be called as an expert in his or her respective field. A, all forensic scientists, analyst permits, affidavits, and curricula vitae for Phoenix Police Department Laboratory Services Bureau are located there. And then we have more permits for Scottsdale PD. So we have 2 PDs whose permits, etc., are listed, and suitable web links provided. So that just certifies certain things that will probably called into evidence that were possibly tested and or extrapolated from. So like devices that were analyzed, that they had, forensically analyzed. That would be part of those sorts of things. 11, unless otherwise indicated, the state wishes to be present during the interviews of all potential state's witnesses. The state's witnesses will be made available for defense interviews except those who testified at a preliminary hearing or juvenile transfer hearing. 12, there was no electronic surveillance. There was a search warrant. There was no informant whose existence the defendant is entitled to know under the Rule 15.4, etc. 13, all existing original and supplemental reports prepared by a law enforcement agency in connection with this case have already been provided or are provided with this notice or shall be provided seasonably. 14, the state is unaware of any existing material or information unknown to the defense that would tend to mitigate the defendant's guilt or punishment. Pursuant to Kyles v. Whitney, etc., etc., the state will review any evidence in its possession, determine if any of it is exculpatory, and if so, turn such evidence over to the defense. Rule 15.1d, prior felony convictions, which I don't think will apply to Laura, but again, this is standard form, boilerplate stuff. The state intends to use at trial any prior felony convictions of the defendant or defense witness for impeachment purposes pursuant to Rule 609, Arizona Rules of Evidence. Furthermore, the state intends to use the defendant's prior felony convictions as aggravating circumstances pursuant to ARS, etc., and for sentence enhancement under, etc. I don't think Laura has any priors, but if there is, wouldn't that be exciting to learn? We just don't know. But as far as we know, there isn't anything. We think this is a first defense as far as we're aware. Next, 2, if applicable, the state has provided or will be providing a list of the defendant's prior felony convictions in a separate allegation. 3, the state will provide a list of prior felony convictions of witnesses the state intends to impeach or call at trial 30 days before trial or 30 days after request. The state cannot provide a list of felony convictions for defense witnesses without an accurate name, date of birth, and social security number for each defense witness. The following witnesses may be called and the following exhibits may be used to prove any prior conviction. A, fingerprint technician analyst. B, fingerprints of defendant. C, original court files on the priors. D, custodian of original court files. E, the defendant of defense attorney on the priors. F, the arresting officers on the prior offenses. G, any past, present adult probation officers or parole officers of the defendant. H, any probation parole files on the priors. I, any booking photographs on the priors. J, any prior fingerprints taken of the defendant. K, any certified copies. L, any pen packs from a state federal prison penitentiary. M, Department of Correction records custodian. N, MCSO detention officers. O, MCSO custodian of records. P, MCSO booking records, booking photos. Other evidence upon request. The state will make recordings of existing 911 calls available to defense after a written request by providing an authorization form to be presented to the appropriate custodian of record. Examination notes made by experts listed in Rule 15.1, etc., shall be provided within 30 days of a written request. 3. All requests to examine or scientifically test items of evidence must be in writing. I suspect we may hear some 911 calls as part of this trial. I suspect. But don't take my word for it. Let's wait and see what happens. Oh my. There's lots of 911 calls, especially from the casita. Evidence of other acts, bottom of the page. Pursuant to Rule 404B, etc., Arizona Rules of Evidence, the state intends to use evidence of other crimes, wrongs, or acts to prove motive, opportunity, intent, preparation, plan, knowledge, identity, or absence of mistake or accident, or for any other relevant purpose and for impeachment purposes that is not otherwise contained in the police reports. It is the state's position that any acts mentioned in the police reports are intrinsic to the charged crimes, and evidence of such are admissible separate and apart from the provisions of Rule 404B. If matters contained in the police reports are deemed, next page, evidence of other crimes, wrongdoings, or acts, the state gives notice that it may use such evidence pursuant to Rule 404B. The state will provide notice of specific acts not contained in the police reports, and the witness intends to call at trial in a separate notice. State's request for disclosure. The state requests a list of all papers, documents, photographs, and other tangible objects that the defendant intends to use at trial. 2. The state requests any completed written reports, statements, and examination notes made by experts the defense intends to call at trial. 3. The state requests copies of any recorded statements made during interviews conducted without the presence of a deputy county attorney. 4. The state requests pursuant to Rule 15.2, etc., that defendants submit to being fingerprinted, palm-printed, foot-printed, photographed, or permit the taking of samples of her blood, hair, saliva, or at any scheduled court hearing. So they're also collecting DNA for ID. That's amazing. It's not surprising. That's very modern. And it is signed Rachel H. Mitchell, and actually as well, it's co-signed by Edward Leiter, Deputy County Attorney. So that's the completion of this list. Let's see what else we have. Oh, it's just further stuff. All right, to the Honorable Monica Garfinkel, Judge of the Superior Court. So that concludes, everyone, the list of witnesses for the state. Quite a list, isn't it? And just about everyone I thought would be, plus a few extras. We're pleased. It's very thorough. Even if there's some, it's a little bit clumsy, it's all right. They'll get it straightened out. This is just part of the process. It's a work in progress. It will get refined as the process goes on. We have every confidence in that. The other little thing I found interesting as part of stuff that dropped today, this, of course, comes from the JFC Reddit, was part of the docket stuff. And this is very interesting to me. We've got notice of disclosure and request for disclosure from parties, and it's the state's notice of disclosure and request for disclosure from the defense. What was of interest actually to me was a little bit further down, and this was filed as of yesterday, the AOM allegations of multiple offenses. And this is the important part, not committed on the same occasion. So we are looking at some totality things that were not necessarily all part of the paternity matter, I think. The note below says, state's allegation of multiple offenses not committed on the same occasion pursuant to ARS 13703, etc. We're looking a little bit wider scope. Now, as I said, I don't think this is going to be, we're not going to be digging into the bowels of the past forever because of statute of limitations kinds of things. They will look to some of those things to prove intent, motive, patterns of behavior, and so forth. So, some of these things will sort of seep into this case, but they won't necessarily be things that will get tried separately. It's complicated. It's complicated. This is a fairly wide funnel for a case, I believe. But we're trying to narrow this down so that the prosecution is fairly tight in what it is. But this is very interesting stuff, how all this works. So soon and very soon, we will get a similar sort of piece of paper from the law offices of Josh Colesrud, defense counsel for indicted felon Laura Michelle Owens, and we will see some very similar things. Lists of names, places, people, etc. And then this will carry on. More motion practice will happen, and we'll see more. And in the meantime, we await an answer from the Supreme Court, hopefully flunking Dingus the Douche Canoe in his final attempt to undo the trial court ruling. But yeah. Does anyone believe that'll happen? I don't. We're just waiting for it to be official so we can just have another toast. Get out your bubbly, your adult beverage, and we'll have a toast. That's what we'll do. And then, of course, we're still awaiting body cam footage as that all gets processed and worked on, probably very slowly. They only have so many people and so many hours. It's just what it is. But we await it. There will be more. This case will start picking up a little bit of steam. And we're excited for that, aren't we? Yes, I think we are. But I think that's enough for this evening. Lest more happen tomorrow on Friday and we get bogged down by even more good stuff. So, all right, folks, until next time.
Why do we have to, every time Rachel says something, you're just like, oh, you're not listening. It's just I don't get it. She is listening. She's listening to every word you say. And she's presenting something, and then you come back and shake your head and sigh.
Okay. Anyway.
Submit to an interview.
Wow. Stop. Well, if you let me. We're moving on to the next question. We're not gonna get very far with that. So
they can prove that this is not the first time she's done it. But even if you disagree with me,
I felt like I was juggling a flaming chainsaw while having my leg bitten by a German Shepherd. Okay. All right. We're moving on to the next question.
What lawyer ever says that?
Well, you're welcome that I gave you that's such an easy way to roast me.
You know it's a possibility you might not win something. We're talking about the appeal.
There's no chance you lost this appeal.
Yeah.
And you will have this.
Rachel, here, can I offer you like a cookie or something? What do you want me to say? What do you want me to say?
Not that. In our case, we like our case.
I shouldn't have said that. Can we move on? Okay.
Yeah. Pull it up. These statutes were invoked.
Yeah. Okay. Hang on. You're getting. Okay.
But show me a case that says that, because your cases don't. I've read them all now. Just give me a quote from Holgate. Just give me a quote from Holgate.
Can you hang on? Can you hang on for just a second here? Okay. Lord. Okay. You are pretending. Wait. If you want me to stay on this, you need to let me have fair opportunity to answer, okay?
David, of 58 minutes, you've probably talked for 42 of them. I mean, come on, man.
Okay, guys.
Hold on.
Let me... Rachel.
There's only the Rule 11. Hold on. There's other authority. What was at issue in that case?
We got to move on. We got to move on from that.
So, is the whole point. Tried to withdraw it. There were other issues before the court.
Oh, for God's sake. Okay, Steve, can we move on? Because we're not going to get...
And then you come back and shake your head and sigh.
I know,
but... You don't have any authority to infringe his copy or whatever, that I interfered with his...
But way before my time. Way before I was there.
Way before you there. Where are these children?
Okay, you ready?
Where are they, David? This is the one thing that I think everybody wants to know.
Okay.
She's still 6 months pregnant. Can I show my belly? How would she have a belly in November if she miscarried in July or August?
Look.
It's still not appropriate for her to include that finding of fact. Where are the people? There were reasons that her findings would have been inadmissible.
My Lord. Steve. Oh my God.
And then Rachel gets 5 to 10 seconds before you sigh.
Read the emails with Clayton, the emails with Greg, the text messages with Mike, 5 that it is, but something that purports to be.
Whatever.
If you would have won, obviously, if you would have won, you would have gloated too.
Here, sign something saying that you raped me, that Laura was pregnant. I don't know what that would be. I mean, she's been running around subpoenaing things, apparently.